Hey y'all, how you doing? Happy Thursday. Feliz quinta-feira. I'm learning. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Hopefully you can hear me. I take it that you can. No one's saying that your mouth is moving and nothing's coming out, so I take it that it's good. How y'all doing? I see Word Up Psychotherapy. One of our YouTube channel members was first in the chat. Hey, girlfriend. How you doing? Aw, thank you, thank you. Oh, and thank you for the super sticker. You're so kind. Thank you. I do accept presents. Hey, Steven's in the house. How you doing? How you doing? Oh, that's awesome. Oh, thank you, Winnie. It's good to see you. Hey. I've been out in these streets, right? Y'all know Teresa's in town, so we was hanging out today. We was on a boat. Hey, and one of our other channel members, Meg P. How you doing? Hey, girl, hey. And hey, my man, Kevy Kev. Hola from Guadalajara. Ooh. I'm pretty sure 2024 is going to be the year I go to Mexico. I was talking about it the other night with Shar. Speaking of Shar, hey, embrace the wonder. I love that. Oh my gosh. Very nice. Very nice. Hey, Tanya's in the house. And speaking of Shar, if you are a member of Blaxit Global Passport, if you are a YouTube channel member residency visa, because there's two tiers, then you've already gotten the season 6 premiere of the Blaxit Global podcast today, a few days before everybody else will get it on January 1st. So if you want to be in the know, you got to get in one of these communities, right? So you can get access, behind the scenes access, and all the things early before everybody else. Hey, Patricia, another channel member in the house. Hey, Francis B, another channel member. You want to be a channel member. Hey. Diane is in the house. Hey, Diane, tuning in from Chicago. Malcolm, one of our passport members, coming in from Portugal. Yes. Yes, Kevin, 2024 is our year in these streets. Honey, let me tell you, when I was on that boat today, I'll tell y'all more about the boat story in a minute. Bountiful billionaire. Oh, yes. I love that energy. Yes. Helen's in the house. Pisces Brett. Hey, how y'all doing? Hey, Yakota. Yakota's in the house. Y'all, I'm a little earlier today because my thought was most people, if they're working, they're not really working right now. And other people probably have the time off, so I could come on a little earlier, especially since tomorrow I have an early morning appointment. So I was like, well, you know what? Let me get up on here early. I see y'all saying hello to one another. I probably have because I've been walking. And I was looking at a gym before because I don't know how much I weigh, but I have certain goal that I want to get to, just what I feel, before my birthday, which was why I was looking at the boat today. So let's see what I did so far today. 13,901 steps at 6.2 miles. And what did I do for the week so far? Let's see. 41,943 steps. That means I burned 2,293 calories so far and walked 18.86 miles so far this week. And the week's not over yet. Hey, look, here's my hangout boat partner today. Y'all see her, right? Y'all have seen her in the comments, and she was here. She is here in Portugal, and we hung out today. Yes, we did. Teresa, tell them what we did today. It was so much fun hanging out with you and your husband today. Hey, Karen's in the house. Yes. Yeah, I'm getting them steps in, Jess. Got to get them steps in way more than I've ever in a bajillion years. Lori, how you doing? How you doing? Cheryl's in the house too. Hey, from Las Vegas. All right. Katrina. Oh my gosh. Hey, hey, hey. Y'all know I was late getting that email out today because I've been out in these streets. And another person I was out in these streets with. Mm-hmm. Our Black Utopia. Mm-hmm. What? But see, I don't weigh myself. I don't weigh myself. I might weigh it's not about the weight, right? It's your body composition. So I go by how I feel, and I can weight the same pounds as long as I'm building muscle mass. So I was looking at a gym today, actually on the bus ride home, because I just want to build some more muscle by my birthday. Not so much pounds, muscle. Hey, Tanya. Yes, I am peaceful. And it's so funny. I was looking at myself before I got on, like patted my face, and I was like, I still got this glow. I don't know, but I appreciate it. I am happy. Yes, I had my house clean yesterday. I was hanging with Teresa and our Black Utopia and, and Teresa's husband today. So, relaxing, relaxing. Oh, Stephen, you're going to be here in February. That's going to be a good time. It's going to be a good time to be here. A lot of people are coming through in February, March, April, all the months. Uh, yes. Oh, yes. And oh, yeah, I got to tell y'all stories before we get into the live. Okay. It's probably time for me to catch up. Okay. So, some people might be new here. You don't know who I am. I am Krishan Wright. I'm the founder of Blaxit Global and the host of the Blaxit Global podcast, which is coming back January 1st. Or if you're in Blaxit Global Passport or in our YouTube membership, residency status, you already have the episode. And it's a long episode. I took y'all advice. You said you wanted to hear from me to open up the season and get you up to speed with what I've been doing. That is the episode. So I listened. So, yes. So if you are interested in moving abroad, like me, I now live in Lisbon, Portugal. You're in the right place. We talk about travel, we talk about solo travel, we talk about moving abroad. And tonight we're going to talk about money because, that's also part of moving abroad. But, I like to chit chat with y'all before. Stephen said I've had that glow for a minute. Yeah, environmental do it to you. Hey, Moni Love. Selena's in the house. And Sheila, another channel member. Yes. Happy holidays to you guys. I had a very good holiday. So I'm going to catch you guys up to speed with what I've been doing since last week. So I went to Porto, Portugal, on Sunday to spend Christmas Eve with one of our speakers at the Move to Portugal Virtual Summit. Yes, indeedy, Bridget. So, Bridget is a personal chef and she is a Southern gal in Portugal. That is her handle on Instagram. So, it's several of us ladies kikiing it and eating some good food. Mac and cheese, some turkey, we got sweet potato pie, sweet potato casserole, all the stuffing, the greens. Ate myself silly. And I know I've been just talking about the summit. I probably should drop you guys a link. I'm looking for it. Hang on, stand by. And so ate all the things. In order for me to get to Porto, I could have taken the train, but since my little fur baby Bailey was a little upset that I keep leaving her, I told her after Italy, I said, hey, the next trip will be a mommy and puppy trip. So I rented a car, y'all. Yep. I drove. in Portugal. I rented a car And that was an interesting story. So I rented the car and then I walked to the rental place. It was a 20-minute walk. So I'm like, okay, I got to get some steps in because I know I'm going to be eating the next couple of days. So I probably should start walking. And I get there because I had a time that I wanted to get on the road in order to get there in time and check in the hotel and leave Bailey and then go to Bridget's. Well, I get there and guess what, y'all? He says, oh, can't find your reservation. I forgot to forward the email to my personal email and not the email that I had it in. I was like, oh, then he found it. Then he says, oh, let me have your ID. I whip out my driver's license, right? He's like, your passport. And I'm like, that's at home. He's like, no, I was like, and I don't have a residency card yet, right? I have residency paper, but it's the holidays and Seth turned into AMA. Who knows when this card is coming? So I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't find a picture of my passport because I'm like, well, can I show you a picture of my passport and then go get the passport once you give me the card and I can drive home? Because I was like, dude, I do not want to walk 20 minutes back because I'm supposed to already be on the road. I had to walk back to my house, get the passport, then walk another 20 minutes back. Needless to say, I got on the road late, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Driving was pretty good. The things that were challenging were filling up because they don't have like the pay at the pump. You got to go and ask for it. So I'm like, ooh, I did not know that. And I was like, ooh, do I know enough Portuguese to do this? But I got by. What I wasn't ready for was the 167 to 178 per liter. Lord. Woo, child, I spent some money on some gas. Because that's like, what, $6.72 a gallon? Mhm. But it was nice. Had fun in Porto. We laughed all night. Then I drove slowly on the way back, stopped in Aveiro, which if you're familiar on Instagram, you probably have seen that they have these gondolas like they do in Venice and Aveiro. And then stopped on the way down to Nazaré, which is where I was thinking about living before I chose Lisbon. And then the next day, Shar and I went to Coimbra, beautiful botanical garden. I haven't even posted those pictures yet. And then we went to eat dinner in Cascais and then drove through. I said, I'm not going to drive through Lisbon because it's too much. I drove through Lisbon, y'all. And then I realized I'm from the Bronx. Why was I hyping up driving in Lisbon? I learned how to drive in New York City. I don't know why. I am the same woman who drove cross country in New Zealand on my first solo trip, and everything is opposite, right? The steering wheel is on the opposite side of the road, opposite side of the car, rather. Everything's opposite, the jug handles, the U-turns, like the whole thing. And I did that. Why was I hyping it up? I don't know. But I did it. Kept the car the extra day, returned it yesterday after I got a car full of groceries because I was like, ooh, now let me get all the stuff I need for the house instead of like a little bit here, a little bit there. Bought a trunk full of groceries and it came to €70. I love my life. I love my life. Steven said he won't be driving. Look, I said I will drive periodically, like once a quarter, because it's easier for me because I can do some trips with the dog or day trips that are easier than me doing public transportation because I'll leave her too long. But I'm not buying a car. Mama don't want that kind of expense. Really? What? No. At least I know you can do it. I know you can do it. I know you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. Look, I had Shar riding shotgun. Oh my goodness. Yes. So Teresa said, great laughs with you, Halisi. Yes, it was so much fun hanging out. Oh, yes. Enjoy the Christmas lights. You definitely have to see the Christmas lights. It is beautiful. I have been driving around. Well, when I had the car, I returned it now. Um, just going around town looking at all these light situations. Oh, thank you, Sheila. Thank you. I was like, am I sweating in here? Y'all say I'm glowing. I'm like, I'll go with the glow. It's not Alexandria. It is not worse than driving in New York City. Now, I will say today when I was riding the bus back home after I left Teresa and her husband, there was a lot of traffic because the buses are all on holiday schedule from the 27th to I think January 3rd. And when I was looking at the bus schedule today, it said holiday. So there was a lot of congestion around Vasco da Gama. So we sat for a while. It took me longer to get home than normal. But it was okay. That's why I love public transportation. I didn't have to lose anything. I just sat on the bus. It was crowded too. The bus was crowded because I think it's like less buses. Dakota. Oh, thank you. Yes, if I can drive in New York City, yes, I can drive anywhere. hmm So Sheila was, let me see, in the British Virgin Islands for 10 days. No, you know what? That was Our Black Utopia is doing a vision board party, but I am doing haven't quite figured out what I'm going to call it yet. But I don't know if it's going to be a vision board party. I did a vision board on YouTube. I think it was over a year ago, but I think I'm going to do something similar, but not quite. But yes, Our Black Utopia did one last night. And I know Halisi's in the comments, so you can talk to her about it. Let's see, did I miss anybody? And it was good that I had to go back and get the passport because you know what? I needed it for the hotel and I totally forgot because I'm not, well, I am a resident, but like I have no other form of like universal identification until my residency card comes. So it was good that he sent me home. Although I was like, like on the cartoons back in the day, Russia, 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 Russia. But it wasn't his fault. It really wasn't. It was mine. So renting a car, great question. So if I know how to drive a stick shift, so I taught myself how to drive a stick shift when I was like 19. Yeah, 19. I bought a car, well, at least a car. And and I was like, I want a stick shift. And the man was like, you want to take it for a test drive? I'm like, nope. Because I think I had test driven it like a couple months earlier, the automatic, but I was like, no, the manual is cheaper. So I was like, no, nope, I'm good. I want to get this one. I didn't know how to drive it off the lot. So I was like, okay, Sean, can figure this out. My goal was not to burn the clutch, right? So I was still in college, and I remember I drove to, I went to University of Albany. So I have these big, parking lots, and one of the quads I knew like didn't have a lot of people. So I would go after class or whenever I had free time, because I also worked, and I was going to practice. And then every day I was like, practice, okay, first to second, second to third, third to fourth, right? And I was like, fifth, you're easy, right? You're on the highway. Start practice. By the end of the week, I wasn't doing all of this anymore. And I was smooth sailing. And I had a stick shift for a long time. It wasn't until I moved to Jersey that I went back to an automatic. But a manual you can get for less than 10 euros a day. You pay much more for an automatic. I opted for the automatic only because I had the dog in the car and I didn't have her usual, well, in the States, she had a car seat and a thing that could latch her in. So I didn't have that. So sometimes she gets a little like, I want mommy when I'm in the car. So I was like, safety first. So I spent a little bit more money. Oh, yes. Here, for those of you who are wondering about the vision board party that Our Black Utopia did, Y'all see what she said. So, and for those of you who are watching the replay, yes. And so we were talking about today. So today I was hanging out with Teresa and her hubby and Halisi. And then we had lunch. And then I looked at a boat for my birthday party. And my birthday is in June. I'll be turning 50. Yay. I'm excited. And, we've been talking about boats for a while because those of you who are coming in June, I hope you have a ticket, which is not the same party, two different parties. Our Black Utopia and I are having a boat party for the Juneteenth meetup. I'm going to put the link here. Get your tickets for the early bird pricing because I don't know how much longer it's going to stay at that price because we're almost in 2024. And then separately, the following week, I am having my birthday party with a couple friends, and I was looking at the boat today. Ooh-hoo-hoo. Teresa, you can tell them about the boat. You can tell them about the boat. It's a pretty boat. It's a pretty boat. I still have one more boat to look at, but it's a pretty boat. Let's see. Interestingly enough, thank you for the compliment. Interestingly enough, the only thing I've done different was I think I might have said it on months ago that one of my friends in Jersey, well, three of my friends, they get together and they do this event every year, Day of Ease. And this year we made candles, soap, and body scrub. And I didn't get to use the soap before I left the States. I was like, oh, you know what? I'll save it for here. So the soap that I made, I've been using on my face, and I have noticed that I haven't had any breakouts. It has turmeric in it. And what else did I put in? I think orange peel, turmeric, and something else, but I love it. I have to actually ask her for the recipe so I can try and mimic here and make it. Thank you. That's all I've been using on my face. I didn't even use the expensive stuff I was using before. I was buying like Sunday Riley. And if you buy that brand, if you're familiar with that brand, you know that thing is not cheap. How did Porto compare to Lisbon? So I scouted Porto when I was here in 2022, I should say. So price-wise, let's start there. Price-wise, it is affordable. Porto is a UNESCO heritage site because that was the first, right? The first capital of Portugal, the original. So pricing-wise, you can get like close to city center, probably depending on the size of the unit. Could be under 1,000, could be a little over 1,000. But Porto is colder. It is cold. The Christmas Eve was okay. Christmas Day, I was like, why can I see my breath? And why do I need like a hat and gloves, which I do not need in Lisbon. Like it was cold yesterday, but I still wasn't like hat and gloves type of thing. No. But in Porto, heck yeah. And it's grayer because it's 3 hours north of here. So that's the difference. But beautiful, beautiful in its own right. Lots of wine, right? Sadoro Valley. So there's lots to do. I would love to see it now that I've seen it in winter and I've seen it in spring. I would love to experience summer. But both times in winter and in April when I went, it was gray. It's a little too gray for me. I need the sun. Because usually this time of year for me, I am like when I was in the States, I'd be hella depressed. And I think I told y'all last week, eating pints of Ben and Jerry's and Haagen-Dazs like every day. Every day. Every day. Poetry's in the house. Hey, hey, hey. All right. Yes. Yeah. Like if you're from Seattle, if you're from, or you're familiar with like, depending on state where you're from, you might like it. You might love it. A lot of people love it. And we, like I said, we had so much fun. I look forward to going back. And if you get the replays to the Move to Portugal Virtual Summit, You can hear more about Porto because Bridget was a speaker and she'll tell you all about it there. So you can hear all that wonderful stuff. All right, I think I got y'all up to speed, right? Okay, so wanted to talk tonight because we're days away from a new year, and I really waffled about like what I wanted to talk about today. I was like, do we do a year-end wrap up? Do we do like I was gonna do like top countries, but I'll save that for next week. But I was like, you know what? This is a good time to do a reflection exercise and get you ready for 2024. So, part of moving abroad means getting your money right. And some people feel like me, or how I used to be 20 years ago ish, 15, 20 years ago ish. It would be very, because the situation was grim. I was like an ostrich, right? Head down. Oh my gosh, don't talk to me about finances because it was like debt, 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 and debt, and debt. And then it got better, right? But getting your money right for your move abroad is important. But there are some things that, are your mainstays that you need to do. But I feel as Black people, there are some things that we have to do even before we do the regular stuff to get our minds right. So, first things first, and I will always say this, it is understanding your why. Your why means everything. Your why has to, because there are going to be bumps along this road, right? Either monetary bumps, life be lifing, inflation be inflating, everything can happen, right? But if you're clear on your why, then those things don't really bother you as much, right? I could have gotten all torqued out about that whole passport thing and having to walk back and forth because that meant I was like way late, right? Um, but I was like, in the grand scheme of things, I'm here, right? And I'm clear on why I'm here. And so, yeah, there are things that like might annoy you, but doesn't really ruffle my feathers, doesn't get under my skin the way life used to. But be clear on your why. That's the very, very first step. And I know some of y'all are really good scribes. You'll probably put that in the comments. And then the second thing, I think, before we get, like I said, into the nuts and bolts of things, is being clear on your relationship with money. And I don't mean present day, right? It could be, right? But being clear on your money story and its origins. And believe it or not, we all have a money story because usually, depending on your age, right? Some people come from homes where money was talked about, right? Investing was talked about, or, pooling money as a family. And others, it wasn't. And it was hardship and scarcity and inconsistency, in my case, volatility. And so those lessons didn't come in my formative years. Those lessons came from basically getting my ass kicked financially and then having a wake up call. But thank God I did have a wake up call when I did, right? And so, really being clear on what did you learn about money? And more is what they say, caught than taught. So, as a child, were there money issues in the family? Were there arguments over it, or did people talk openly about it at the table? Those are really where our roots come. Fast forward as you move through your life, you might see themes where either you're repeating things or your behaviors with money, you can start to look at the patterns and see, hey, I am very much a hoarder with money. And that might come from fear, right? Either being displaced when you were a child or anything, right? Parent having inconsistent income. So, thinking about your past can also help you realize your behaviors in the present. Are you a person that spends a lot of money because you didn't have it and then now you have it? So, you want to buy everything all the time because you want to accumulate things? or maybe that, like I said, transient behavior in your earlier years. And so, again, you just want to kind of hoard it, or you're somebody who wants to spend it, right? You were never taught that you can save for a rainy day or invest for the future. So, these are the kind of things that I think for us in particular, we spend some time doing these foundation steps. It will make the other things much easier, much easier. But again, sometimes it means, and I think I talked about it a little bit at the end of season 5 of the Blaxit Global podcast. What I started to do, especially in preparation for this move this past year, was the hardest part, which was the shadow work and uncovering those, in a lot of cases, look, I'll be straight up, maladaptive behaviors. And, where I was like exhibiting scarcity mindset and making decisions based out of scarcity. And then when I started to shift that mindset into abundance, that was it. And like I said, it's not an easy exercise where you just flip the switch and then all of a sudden you go from scarcity to abundance. But it's like living into that vibration, and each person is different. For me, it was telling myself an affirmation. I was like, I make money daily and often, right? Money comes to me effortlessly, right? And so once I started to do that, and you have to do that even before you really believe it, but when you start to behave and go in the direction of your dreams, that's where the magic happens. That's where everything starts to follow. And that's where these later steps become easier, if that helps. So I said a lot right there. I'm going to pause for a second. um, so let me go into the comments. So Melanin Man Travel says, because of scarcity, I spent it to get things that I thought I wouldn't be able to get in the future. Yes, yes. Thank you for sharing. I've done that too. I've done that too. Like I've had goals that I wanted to do for myself. And this is like going back a couple of years. And then, society says, oh, you should have these things that signal that you're at a certain level. So I remember 2 times I spent a ridiculous amount of money on a handbag. One, and both of them like broke. Like one I spilled something in like shortly after getting it. Another one broke, like a year or whatever later. And I was just like, that was just such a waste, right? But that wasn't because I did think it was a pretty bag, but it wasn't because I genuinely wanted it. It was because it was following the herd, right? And sometimes we do those things, or we think because, like I said, we're at this certain status, we should signal to society, I got, right? When I was married, we had a bunch of stupid crap that we didn't need. And I remember when everything went south in 2008, 2009, and my neighbor at the time, he was just like, oh, I thought you guys had money because you had the Land Rover and this car and the house here and the house. I was like, we were broke and doke. We were indebted at debt. Okay. But new me thinks differently. And I want to help you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I want to, like I said, I wanted to pause here for a second because I think that this resonated with you all when I said that. Yes, your relationship with money. And it requires, this step requires you to be honest with yourself and go into places and confront things that you might have okayed, right? Sometimes we say we want to do something and then our behavior is the exact opposite, right? You say, oh, I want to move abroad, but then it's like, oh, I got to help this person out with this thing. Or, oh, I didn't remember that this happened, or I need to do this. And so it's the fear of the unknown, right? Moving abroad, right? The unknown, your life on the other side. But what you know is, hey, when I don't feel well, I love to go to the mall. I love to distract myself. I love to gamble. Some people gamble online. Um, some people get a bunch of subscriptions to different streaming services so that they could just veg out in front of the TV, right? All of those things nip away at money that cheats your present self and your future self, right? Because your future self is waiting on you, and your present self is just keeping you stuck, right? Keeping you comfortable, right? Meg said, I'm working on my relationship with money and stop focusing on the shame of the past mistakes and not avoiding balancing my accounts. Good for you. Let me tell you something about some shame. Shame is insidious. And we sometimes, and I'm speaking from experience, can gaslight ourselves. I remember it was about a little over a year ago, a little over a year ago. And I had started, I had my money goals. I talk about it in the new episode. And I was prepping. And then I said, okay, let me start layering and thinking about how I'm going to support myself because I still hadn't figured out that part of the move. And I was like, okay, my investments are at a good clip. Let me start trading. And I was doing well initially, right? Doing really well. And then I decided to, look at a little bit of what this person was doing, try this strategy, that strategy. Next thing you know, I made a bunch of money really quick. And then I got cocky. And greed came in, and then I lost that. And then I was like, oh, right, chasing it. And I had to realize, well, I didn't realize it at the moment. Then I lost a bunch of money. And I was in this negative feedback loop for a long time, more than I care to admit. And it was the shame. Even though no one else knew, it was the internalized shame. It was the me talking like, oh my God, I can't believe you. How are you so stupid? You could have done this. Why did this? All just, and I kept getting more and more depressed about it. After some months, I'll admit it, I had to change the tape that was playing in my brain. I had to shift it from, oh gosh, how could you be so stupid and all this other stuff to, hey, you know what? Let's look on the bright side. We now have a tax deduction for a couple of years, right? And you can make that money back in other ways, right? That quieted the mind. Then what I did, another step was I got into a trading group because I felt like all the things that I was doing, the negative things I was doing in isolation. I didn't have a community. And so I got with a community that was within the group, and we had a competition. I think it was like this time last year. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get back on track. I'm going to get laser focused. I realized don't trade when I'm distracted, all these things. And the other thing I did, was like doing the plan. So we had this competition, like who could, I think, make the most trades or whatever, the most money in the trade. And I won that. I won the whole thing. But I was glad because I won it. And then I was like, that's it. Not that I'm never going to trade again, but I was like, okay, I'm going to stick to the agreements that I set out for myself to keep myself disciplined. So sometimes when we go off the rails for whatever reason, we either spend too much, or we do something else that gets us in this negative feedback loop, you can visit negativity, just don't stay there, right? You can have like nice little drive by. But getting yourself, like I said, in community, being honest with things allows you to get past the shame. Kevin says, out of fear, I've held large amounts of money in basic savings account, which lose money. For 2024, I moved it to high yield savings. Yay. Yes. Oh, wow. Yes. Open up a high yield savings account, y'all. The yields are there, and just realize, like, have that in there and then have a plan for what you want to do with that money. Maybe you want to put part of it in a CD. If you pay attention to the feds, they've already signaled that in 2024 that they will start to lower interest rates. Haven't signaled when, but since inflation is coming down, even though we don't feel it, inflation is coming down. It's a lagging indicator. It looks like rates will then start to go back down. So we don't know how long we're going to be able to enjoy these like 4.3, 4.5, 4.7 interest rates. Enjoy it while you can, and then have a plan for what you want to do with that money, right? Definitely. Good, 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 good. Yeah. I have mine in there. Yes. Tax deduction on those losses. You gotta look at the bright side. Patricia said it's shoes. Yes. And so it's a good thing to like think about like where did that come from? Where did the fixation come from? Because it comes from somewhere. For most of us, it's usually childhood, right? Something is there that feeds a certain behavior, but the more you feed into it, it's actually detrimental, right? Something that was to your benefit actually starts holding you back. Word Up Psychotherapy said, yes, yes. We've all done things, all done things. And like I said, I am guilty of it too, right? And that's when you can have your biggest breakthrough when you're willing to do the scary thing. And the scary thing is being open and sharing that you took an L or maybe multiple L's, right? But it's like shining a light on it gets you out of the guilt, gets you out of the shame, gets you out of the negative feedback loop for you to start to do what you need to do. Doesn't matter necessarily when you take action. What matters is that you take action to correct it and move forward. Don't get stuck, right? Okay. Monique said, I look back at the amount I've spent on BMWs in the past after seeing how much maintenance has cost through the years. I traded the last one a few years back. I got a Honda. Yay! Good for you. Yes, yes. I am with you. Yes. I got rid of that Audi and got a Kia those last 2 years. I had a 24-month lease because the Audi was falling apart, and I was like, "Look, had that payment under 200, and then 2 days before I flew out on my freedom flight, turned that sucker in." But think about all the money I saved. And, it's great, and so actually that leads to a nice segue to, our next part of it. I'm just catching up on some. Ooh, yes, Jess. Spill the old tea and pour some new tea in 2024. Yes, I love that. Yeah, Sheila said went through a negative feedback loop for over almost a year. Yes. Like I said, guilty many months. I kept beating myself up over that. And then now it's like, what can I do? And I had to reframe it. Sometimes, one of the things I thought about on the bus in preparation, I could use some examples is like, I could have spent that money on, like, once the money is spent, it's spent, right? Like, I could have spent money. I spent a good bit of money on travel, right? But it's experiences over things. So I was like, okay, yes, I donated that money to the market when I lost it. But I was like, I had to just think about it as something differently so that I could get rid of the guilt and the shame. And so, like I said, for some people, it might be getting in community and talking about it. For others, it might be telling someone that you trust who won't beat you down about it, but will be that or a therapist, right? Be that person that you kind of just let it all out to. Or you can journal about it, but as long as you don't continue to perpetuate that negative talk track, that soundtrack in your mind. Because again, we can do that to ourselves, and all that does is handcuff you and hold you back. Yes, yes, I hear you. Okay, so then once you do that, one of the things I want you to do for 2024, right, is to take stock of what you spent over the year. So and what I mean by that is you may even have to do more than 1 year, depends. But you want to look at your spending habits. More than likely, most people are spending more in 2023 than they had in the previous year. Obviously, inflation has gone up. But inflation aside, right? Because it'll be a percentage. Look at, it might be helpful to do 2 years for comparison, but to see if there's an appreciable difference between what you spent in 2022 and what you spent in 2023, absent inflation, of course, right? And look, figure out where the leaky buckets are. Are you spending money on premium subscriptions, right? I don't know. They have those things like what, Netflix, all of those things, the YouTube Premium, right? Are you spending money on, what was that? It used to be a site. It probably is still around. They send you clothes to your house, all of those conveniency things, right? Amazon Prime, all of those things. Look at, usually, especially for us, our generation, is subscriptions. So where are you spending your money on subscriptions? Are you having like family plans that you're not using? That could even be phone plans. Are there opportunities for you to downgrade some areas? I remember there was a time when I first got divorced and the kids were younger, I paid for the next tier of cable to allow for the kid programs. And I think I did that for 2, 3 years, and then I was just like, "Okay, y'all ain't having that no more." And go outside. And it was okay because I was like, "You know what? I need to lower my expenses." But I understand that if you're living a life that's pretty lean, you might not have a lot of levers, and I was living pretty lean, but that was one that I was like, "Okay, I didn't have to worry about, like, are they gonna get upset?" It's like, "No, I'm the parent here. I'm making an executive decision." And that's what we cut out. So think about those things. Like I said, the subscriptions. That was like one of the biggest things that I had, or not biggest, but because like I said, I am pretty lean. But that was one of the areas that I was like, okay, I'm pretty lean, but there's still more that I can trim down. And I got rid of the subscriptions. Look, even though these companies are cracking down on password sharing, you know, let's just say get creative. So look at your expenses. I remember when I went from relaxing my hair to going back to natural, and I looked at how much I was spending every 2 weeks getting my hair done, getting relaxers. And then I multiplied that. And I was like, oh my God, look how much money I've spent just on my hair alone. And I don't do like the nails and things. I know some people do. It's just not my thing. And I don't do like lashes and stuff. But for me, that was one of the biggest spends was my hair. And then I was like, oh no, that was like another reason not to. And even when it came to, how do I say that? Even when it comes to vehicles, I remember I had this conversation with my mom. I mean, her situation is different, right? Because she's elderly. But one of the things that helped me with choosing a vehicle was not just looking at the price, and I would play games with myself, like how quickly could I pay this car off? And I remember the last car I paid off I got a certified pre-owned. I think I paid it off in a year and a half. I was just super aggressive. And I think before that, like the longest it would take or the shortest it would take was like 3 years. So I was like, okay, I would look at the car, see how much it cost, look at the payment, and then divide the payment, whatever that payment was, by the actual drivable hour. Meaning, if you leave your house like I did, I used to get up in the morning, take the kids to school, drive to the office, and then that car sat. Maybe I would go out for lunch. Most times I didn't because I didn't have it like that. And then pick them up. So my driving hours per day was roughly about 3 to 4. Then you multiply that by 5 days a week, or, 7 if you're going out on the weekends. And then, right, by 4, right, to get a full month. And I would compare and I'm like, ooh, you know, and then I'm like, okay, if I choose a different vehicle that had safety features and all that other stuff and divide that payment into the drivable hour, that's how I would base my decisions. Not so much on like the bells and whistles and do I look good in it, but it was like, what's the drivable hour? Because most times people are spending thousands upon thousands on vehicles that literally sit out of a 24-hour period. They're sitting anywhere from 20 to 22 hours. And it's like, why? And then you have to pay for parking, insurance, gas, get it washed, maintenance, all the things for what? Right? Work smarter, not harder. Yes. Yes. Experiences over things. Yeah. Can only wear one pair of shoes at a time. Can only drive one car at a time. Right? I see people 4, 5, 6 cars. And it's like 2 people in the household that got a driver's license. It's like, well, you need a car for every day of the week. I don't get it. Right? It's like, I don't have, you're better off getting a money gun and then putting all that money in it and just shooting it out the window. Because a vehicle is a depreciating asset, not an appreciating one. So I stopped getting new cars. I stopped leasing. I was getting certified pre-owned, with the exception of the last one, which was a lease because I knew I was leaving America. But yes, yes, public transportation all the way. Me too. I just reloaded my card for Portugal, right? I get the bus, the train, yeah, bus, the train, the metro, and the ferry, unlimited, €40 a month. Can't beat that. Mm-mm. Can't beat that. Okay. So once you take a stock of all your expenses, identify the areas that you can trim. Then you can see, okay, how much now can I devote to the buckets, right? We're not even going to call it like the move, because you need an emergency fund, right? Or I know that people are changing the names of emergency fund, right? A just in case fund. You can call it whatever you want. Just an account that it's like, do not open, right? Break glass type of thing, right? Keep money just in case. Then you want to have your investments, of course, for later in life. And investments means it just doesn't go into an account and sit, right? As Kevin shared, right? He had done that. Many of us have done that. Had it in a bank account, myself included. And having it in the market, and I know sometimes it's a scary thing, but the thing to help you overcome fear is education. There's a lot of great information out there. And I don't know if Halisi is still on. I think is it Better Investing? Is a nonprofit. I think that's the name. It's a nonprofit. There are loads of information out there about, index funds. You can follow people like Our Rich Journey, Our Black Utopia, and learn about, investing in index funds. You can invest in the S&P 500, and that gives you a lot of coverage in terms of the 500 best companies in the US that are publicly traded versus a single stock, because you're pretty much putting all your money on one horse, right? Versus putting your money in 500. And the beauty of the S&P 500, for example, is that it's self-cleansing. So there was actually, I think this month or last month, there was a company that was kicked off of the 5 and replaced with another one. And that's what they do. They're not performing, the company gets replaced with another high performing. So you're always getting the best of the best, the cream of the crop. This is not investing advice. I'm not giving you investing advice. This is for educational purposes only, but it's an example to illustrate what the difference between, like I said, some people think just putting the pot of money in an IRA or putting it in a different account, like that's enough, or the 401k is enough. No, you actually have to pick a investment, right? Whether it's an index, like I said, you can do a single stock, but prefer that you didn't, to give you an opportunity to get growth because it's the appreciation. It's not timing the market, it's time in the market, right? The longer it's there, reinvest those dividends, letting it percolate, letting it appreciate. And granted, it doesn't always go up, there's volatility, but doing your homework and learning about the scary thing is empowering. I remember when I was like, okay, I got divorced and I was like, I got these two kids and I do not want to work forever. Every day without fail, I was reading something. Either I went to the library, got a book about, investing, started to, listen to podcasts, different podcasts about like investing in the stock market and, being debt free and just always feeding myself. That's all I would listen to. And that's why it's funny when people ask me about Blaxit Global, I'm like, it was either going to be about money or travel because those are the two things that I was like obsessed with. And that helped keep me on the straight and narrow. So if you struggle with discipline, that's a great way to help you, like I said, get over the scary thing is start to find either mentors or sources of information that help you build that acumen and that empowers you to come at it from a position of strength. There's Investopedia, where you can, it's like a Wikipedia for investing, so it's free. And you can find out about so many things, terminology, watch CNBC. And if something's not making sense, write it down, Google it, go in Investopedia. They have paragraphs, everything's linked, and build that muscle so that you can win. Because once you have money invested, whether it's in a high yield savings account or a CD or some other investment vehicle, oftentimes that investment will outpace inflation. Because as Kevin had talked about earlier, it's like the dollar diminishes over time, especially the US dollar. And granted, it's the universal currency, but case in point, I think today, because I get my alerts every day, the dollar against the euro is significantly weaker. It is now, I think it's at 89 cents. So 1 US dollar is 89 cents, right? The euro is stronger. And so when you think about moving abroad, and I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but it's just to illustrate that the value of the dollar goes down over time, either by inflation or depending on where you live, the difference in currency rates, right? Currency fluctuates every day. And so if you have it invested, for example, the S&P, I think this month has gone, well, this year, I should say, has gone up 20% from January to December. Think about that. So while your dollar is diminishing sitting in your bank account, right, because you're able to buy less because of inflation, that dollar that you have invested is buying that and then some. Invest in your future self. But again, be clear on your why, right? Deborah said index funds are the best. Yes. Yes. Yeah, girl. It was 91 yesterday. It is 89 today. I'm transferring nothing right now. Thankfully, I had enough in my account to where like I don't have to do any transfers until that bad boy comes back. But that's the thing you have to deal with, right? It's like when you're, especially if you're in a country like we are, right? Where, like I said, the currency that we have is stronger than the currency where most of our money is held. When I am strategic and I move large sums of money that I know I can last for a while before I have to do any type of transfers, but I constantly watch what the fluctuation is because again, you can't time it and get an optimal rate. But there are times where it's just not in your best interest to make transfers, right? So yeah, so as Elise was saying, let's see, did I do that right? Yeah, you lose 10% of your money when you transfer it, right? At the current rate. Kevin said the pesos is tripping too, 20 to 1 in January, 16 to 1 now. Can you believe it? But that's the thing that you have to, realize. Um, so yeah, yeah. So you just have to think about it. And, there are a lot of factors, I don't want to like digress into, understanding currency, but there are a lot of factors that affect currency fluctuations. And again, it changes on a daily basis. We don't think about it when you're in like the US because your dollar is your dollar. But again, we all have faced, myself included, because like I've only been here less than 4 months, is that your buying power has diminished over time with that dollar, right? Something that used to cost a dollar may now cost a dollar and some change. Because then wasn't it in 2022 that the dollar stores said that, yeah, we're going to keep the name dollar store, but everything's not going to be a dollar anymore. Hmm. Right? So they themselves are telling you like your buying power diminishes. So how do you stave that off? You stave that off by educating yourself, right? Sometimes, yes, we can talk about the things that we didn't get as a child, but when you become an adult, you have control and you have to reparent yourself, right? Soothe that inner child and give yourself, right, your adult self, what you need, right? Don't give in to the inner child. Inner child might say, buy them shoes, buy that bag, do all those things. But adult you has goals, right? Those goals might be, hey, I want to live in country X. Who do I need to be? What do I need to think, know, and believe in order to get me there? That's what you have to think about. Yes, 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 yes. Yes. Yeah. Yes. It's time, right? Okay. So, like I said, we're talking about understanding your why and doing the assessment about, where your money behaviors are, looking at your finances, all of it. Like, what did you spend this year? And for some people, like I said, you might need to do a 2-year comparison, right? Control for inflation, but figure out where you can trim the fat, right? Where are the leaky buckets? Because the leaky buckets, if you can start to redirect that money and then putting it into like having an emergency fund, having your investments. And then as it relates to moving abroad, you also have to kind of look at it in phases, right? You're going to have your, excuse me, your pre flight money and investments, meaning before you even leave, you're going to have to pay for visas, right? Applications. You might need to get passports. You might need to get those passports translated, right? Depending on your original country or the country that you're entering, they may ask for it to be apostilled. Postage. Uh, you might have to employ the help of coaches or lawyers or any of that. So that's all your pre-flight expenses. Make a list of what those things that you would need help with, right? Do you need a lawyer? Do you need a coach? Do you need some other person to help you? What are those categories, right? Come up with that list. And then you need to do the research to kind of fill in like, okay, what are those prices? What are those costs? And we're at the tail end of the year. So for most things for 2024, those new prices have already been posted. So you can start to fill in the blanks. And then where you don't have that information, then you have identified areas that you need to work on. Um, Hey, yes, I am still coaching. A bunch of people got on my calendar this month. Surprisingly, I thought everybody was relaxing, but nope. My calendar has been full. So I will drop the link for those of you who want to do coaching with me. I will drop the link there. So definitely have that list, right? Think about all of the supportive things that you have to do pre-move, right? You might need to, although it usually doesn't cost, but you might need to get a realtor. You might need to, get an appraiser, all those things, anything that has to cost. You might need to repair something in your home. All of those are pre-flight costs. Then you're going to have your actual flight costs. And I use flight not necessarily as in plane, but like your pre-move and then your actual move. So your pre-flight, we talked about now your flight costs, right? Your actual flight, right? Whether it's for you and a pet, like in my case, kids, spouse, partner, whomever, parent, right? Grandparent, whomever. You'll need to look at, do you need a concierge, right? So who's going to help you, especially if you have a lot of luggage, to get from the airport to your destination? You also want to think about luggage. You want to think about, okay, what's it going to cost? How much can you pare down and how much you absolutely need? And I'll tell you here, as Americans, we accumulate a lot of things, a lot of things. I think I read, I don't know if I read it or I was listening to a podcast, and it was talking about minimalism, but it was saying that I think the average person, like household, not person per se, household has like 300,000 items in their home. Like if you counted every actual item, I'm like, what? Which makes sense, right? Because I know where I was living in Jersey, everywhere you turn was another storage company. It was like another building. Oh, this storage. And I'm like, somebody building another storage. I was surrounded by storage facilities. And I was like, oh my gosh. But like it's a sound business that kind of is recession proof because it's a consumer driven society. So we accumulate things for some reason either makes us feel either safe. And that's the thing that like I said, I'm more minimalist than not. I was like, okay, I'm spending all this money to pull all these things in the house. And then I'm spending like 10, 12 hours out of my house trying to make money to then buy more things. That's hustling backwards. So think about, where you can pare down and what you absolutely need. And in doing so, you might realize like you don't need a lot of stuff. You actually don't. I came here with 3 suitcases, right? A carry-on in one big bag, a carry-on, and then I shipped the podcast equipment and all that other stuff. That was it. That was it. Everything else is replaceable, right? The things that I need to keep, the things that I wanted to have sentimental value, and everything else, it was cheaper for me to buy than it was for me to ship it here. Yeah, don't be hustling backwards. These are the things that we're leaving in 2023. We're getting off the struggle bus. Yes, yes, take it. Yeah, Kev said, I recently took advantage of my kids' last visit to set aside what they want, told them I'm getting rid of the rest. Yeah. And that's interesting because the things Like I use my mom as an example. As parents, and I'm guilty of this as well. But there's certain things that have sentimental value to us that have no value to our children. My mother still has this Mickey Mouse that I had when I was like 5. And when I tell you that Mickey doesn't even look like it looked like a tractor trailer that ran over Mickey. It's a mess. And I'm like, why do you have this? She's like, because you watch some shows where people have something and they find it. I'm like, don't nobody busted, beat up Mickey that looked like he got run over by like 15 dump trucks. No sentimental value. I remember she had my prom dress from like, was that 30 something years ago? I was just like, get rid of this stuff. I don't want it, you know? So I even had to do that when I was getting ready for the move. There were things that I thought I wanted, but it also depends on the age, right? Because sometimes, depending on the age of the child, they don't really understand. But I was like, y'all want this or not? But there were certain things I kept. I have 2 casts of my body when I was 9 months pregnant. I still have them. They're not here, they're in the States. But those have sentimental value to me. But most of the lot stuff got sent. Yes. You had one of those beat up Mickey Mouses. Mickey looked like he had been through some stuff in like 40 something years. I was like, throw that thing away. Yes. And the beauty of doing this, and actually leads to you know, the money situation, is there are levers that you can pull, right? Sometimes we think, oh, I don't have enough money. Believe it or not, I mean everybody, with the exception of like Warren Buffett and a couple of them jokers in the 1%. But most people, even if you're working on a fixed income, right? There's but so much, right? You get the same amount of money, however often you get paid, right? Unless you do overtime. But again, it doesn't really move significantly, right? So you have to think of other ways that you can make money. It's by selling items. Like I said, average home has 300,000 items in it. So sell things on eBay, make things. You leverage your skills. You can sell things on Etsy. People sell a lot of different things. If you're adept at doing Excel spreadsheets, I am not. You can make templates and sell templates. There are teachers that sell lesson plans. There are pastors that sell, what do you call it? Sermons, right? Sermons. Uh, there are ways in which that you can leverage your skill. And when you are our age, right, which most people kind of fall into that 40, 50 plus, is we have experience on our side, right? And so you can think about the things and see the opportunities. Whether, I was talking about Bridget, right? Southern Gal in Portugal. She has this cooking, right? She didn't say, "Oh, I'm in Portugal. They don't eat these foods." No, you know what? There's a bunch of Americans that are living here that, myself included, wanted some sweet potato pie, right? Wanted those, creature comforts during the holidays, right? So leverage those skills to help you make money. And then that's how you can build your income. Because again, having all your income come from your employer is the equivalent of putting all of your investments in a single stock. Hella risky. Because when they decide that it's in their best interest to let you go, irrespective of whatever you got going on in your life, then what? Right? It's like putting all your money in a single stock, and then that stock goes down and down and down and down, right? Mm-mm, mm-mm. Diversify. And how do you diversify? Empower yourself in education and think about how you can leverage your talents and skills. If you need a reference, look at the video from, I think, 2 weeks ago, which talked about What did I talk about? Like ways to make money online? Ways to make money online. You can look at that. And if I remember, I'll link it in the show notes or in the notes after this. Let's see. Yes, Melanie Man said, I purposely chose to live where I don't need a car, sold my car, invested the money. Yes, yes, exactly. Put your money to work. Make your money make money, babies. I'm like, look, I need my money to work while I sleep. Because guess what? This physical body at 49, I can do just so much. First of all, I don't even want to work, right? But I can only do so much. I want to live my life. But money works all the time. Money doesn't sleep. Money can make money. Make money, babies. So I say, look, I want to go sleep. I want to wake up. I want to see more of you. Right? Yes. Pisces spread. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. There was a question about my skin, right? So my friend Naya Beauty, right? So Lashonda is her name, but her business is called Naya Beauty. And she was, I'm trying to remember her backstory. She was an accountant making nice money. Accountants make nice money. Was realizing she was getting burnt out. Was realizing that really wasn't her passion. It was something she knew how to do, but it wasn't her passion. And so she learned how to make soap. That's her sweet spot. She makes soap. She sells it to people, retail. Then she also makes like different bath bombs and things like that. Now she has deals, does wholesale. So people can do private label, right? So she makes it, but they put their own label. She has contracts with some of the hotel chains, right? So when you're in the thing, you're like, oh my gosh, some of those Lashonda. And then added another revenue stream, right? So I said two, right? Added another revenue stream by teaching people how to make soaps, right? So either date night, parties, whatever, or just people who want to learn the skill to actually do it and go in business for themselves. That's going from an accountant to an entrepreneur who makes soap. None of us wake up when we come into this world knowing how to do anything. We don't even know how to talk or walk. We had to learn it. So try not to get into this rigid mindset that you can't do it. If you tell yourself you can't do it, absolutely, you won't be able to do it. But if you tell yourself you can, if you can tell yourself, my brain is no different than anybody else's brain, I can do this, then you will be in that receptivity. You'll be receptive to learning and knowing that it takes time. I didn't get 100 on every test that I ever took. Sometimes I failed. Sometimes I got an 85. Sometimes I got a 90. Sometimes I got 100. But you show yourself grace. Yeah, yeah. Check her out, Naya Beauty. Yes. Naya Beauty. Her name is LaShonda. And her business is Naya Beauty. And they are in, actually, she just moved her business to from Kearney to Newark in this great facility. So definitely look her up and you can tell her I sent you. Oh, you're welcome. Yes. Yes. I'm preaching. Hey, Dave's in the comments. Hey, Dave was on the podcast. Hey, Anya's in the house. How you doing? All right. And so let's see. I said doing an assessment, get your expenses, your pre-flight, right? So I said understand how much luggage is going to cost, right? Find ways where you can do this more affordably. Get your plane tickets and all that stuff. What else goes into your like items that you might need to procure in the country that you're leaving that are either significantly more expensive in the country that you're going to, or just to give you a head start because you're going to be doing all the things and you won't have time, right? So like me, when I came, I had like all the hair stuff, vitamins, medicine, so that I didn't have to worry about those things until much later because I knew I was going to be busy with other things. And then you have your actual, as part of your, where does this one fit in? Yeah, I guess this goes into your maybe even your pre-flight. There's a little addendum that might be any expenses that you might need for your move, meaning you might need to put deposits down on a rental or a car in case that fits your particular circumstances. For me, I wanted a walkable city, but some people need a car because they have small children or there's a distance, for the next city or what have you. Neither one is right or wrong. It's all about your personal choice. But you might need that and you might need money to replenish those accounts. And then when you get to your actual destination, because remember I said look at it in 3 phases, then you'll, in my case, right, I had to furnish a whole apartment. So I was spending money on furniture. You'll be spending money potentially, at least in the beginning stages, on maybe ride shares or a rental car. You'll need food. You'll need clothes. You'll need those basic essentials like, a plunger for the toilet, things you don't even think of, plunger for the toilet, silverware, toilet paper holders, things like that. I needed a little rack for my bathroom, like things that, you start to realize it as you need them. You're like, oh, wow, I need Tupperware. So you'll need just like some seed money for your, first 1 to 3 months, right? But if you lay these things out in like phases, then you can see the fuller picture. Some people get caught up on, oh, you know what? I need 20,000, I need 30,000, and they come up with this number, which actually you might need. I don't know. Everybody's situation is different. But then what usually happens is a surprise happens. Oh, I forgot I had to pay for a notary. Oh, I forgot I had to pay for, something to be apostilled. I had to do this. And then you're like, oh, shoot, I have a gap. Like for me, when I did my budget we have a workshop in Blaxit Global Passport for budgeting. And at the time, I did my budget. At the time in Portugal, you could mail your visa application in. You didn't have to go in person. But by the time it was time for me to actually do it, the rule had changed because it was a COVID rule that they were now making it in person, removing the mail option. It wasn't even like I could do either or. So then I had to have money to go from New Jersey to Washington, D.C. Well, I also knew I couldn't do that in one day. I had to drive the night before since my appointment was first thing in the morning. So it was like tolls, gas, mileage, hotel room, right? I have to eat, parking, all those things, right? So again, those are the things that when you have to think about something, blow it out. What are all the things that you are glossing over? This way it allows you to get as granular as possible. Yes, mini trash cans. Yeah, all the things, mini trash cans, mini trash can bags, like all these things that just come up, right? You want to get as granular as possible. Oh, hey, Marguerite's in the house. Hey, girl. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad I'm getting you thinking. Okay, good, good, good. Right. And again, it's because I want you to prioritize 2024, right? We're going to live in the land of possibilities, the art of the possible. Okay. And okay. So we talked about your pre-flight, right? Your flight, and then your actual move. And so the things that I want you to think about is determining your budget. And these are all things that, like I said, there's certain things that we have to do as a people before we get to it. And there's some things that are just standard fare. These are the standard fare things. So determine your budget, right? Um, if you have an accurate breakdown of what you need in your new country, right? You need housing, right? Shelter, some form of some form of transportation, either public or you're gonna rent a car or do ride shares, whatever, right? Think about your transportation costs. Think about food. Obviously, you have to eat. Um, Think about personal care. So you'll need, things for your body to clean yourself or, get your hair done or barber, right? With whatever is applicable. That might include, nails, it might include anything, right? Personal care. Utilities. So you'll need a phone, internet. Maybe you want to watch TV. So think about all of those things. Is water utility expense? Usually it is. But interestingly enough, when I moved here, garbage is not an expense. I was paying a bunch of money for garbage pickup. They raised my garbage costs by 50% while simultaneously giving less service. They took like an extra, they basically cut it in half the service, but double the price. America be American. So you'll want to determine your budget. So research the cost of living in your destination country and get an estimate, right? So you want to look at your daily living. And so there are tools and resources that you can use. You can use Numbeo, the Earth Awaits, and then there's another one I'll put in the comments. Yes, don't forget your attorney, your immigration. That's right. Anything, all of those. Word Up Psychotherapy said 2024. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. That's right. Another one you can use. It looks like, I don't know why it's giving me an error, but hopefully that showed up. So let's see if I can do this. Let me see. Does it allow me to do this? Let's see. Hopefully you can see me. Can you still hear me? Hopefully you can. But Expatistan. So this is a great site that allows you to do a cost of living comparison. It's using location, so it knows I'm in Lisbon. But basically, what you can do is put the comparison between the city that you live in and the city that you want to move to, and it'll give you a breakdown. So let's say New York City. I don't know, or do I have to spell it out? Yeah, okay. And then compare. Yes, is the cost of living in New York City is 95% more expensive than Lisbon, Portugal. 95%. So this is a great tool that enables you to compare even the city that you currently live in to the country that you want to move to. And you can just go through, like I said, I just dropped the link there. But they use all of this data so you can look through those categories, right? Food, housing, clothes, transportation, personal care, entertainment. One of the things that struck me about living in Portugal is that clothing is way more affordable than it is in the States. So I've been able to buy clothing and nice clothing and not break my budget at all. Um, So again, like I said, you can go down this. This is a great tool that you can use, and I dropped that in the chat. So definitely use that tool. That will help you with your, remember, you want to do as much research, but don't overdo it, right? We don't want analysis paralysis. But what I want you to do is get a realistic picture of what it is. And then your savings goal. So every year, I love at this time of year, my favorite thing to do every year is set a savings goal. And so my savings goal usually is about the same. Now, this year, coming into 2024, it's going to be slightly different because the girls turning 50. So I get those catch-up contributions. Ho, 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 ho. So I'm excited about that. So it'll catch-up contributions. They don't let you do like an extra 1,000, whatever. But in any event, right? That gives me a realistic picture. Like how much do I actually want to put away? And what are the vehicles in which that I have? What are the buckets, right? Is that an HSA? Is that a 403B? Is it a 401k? Is it an IRA, a Roth IRA? And I know for some people, it might sound, if you're not familiar with these investment, buckets, it might sound like Charlie Brown teacher, wah, 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 wah. That's why I said, go to investopedia.com, start to look at the terms. Don't do the whole ostrich thing that I used to do when I was talking about money, right? Empower yourself. How do you empower yourself? Through knowledge, right? So get onto these things, educate yourself, and improve your acumen so that you can come at it from a place of power, right? Doesn't matter when you start, right? Doesn't matter when you start, it matters how you finish. Yes, it is one of the top 5 countries for retirement. Did you guys see the article earlier this year that I wrote for Condé Nast, World Traveler? And we had our friends, our Black Utopia in it. And it was all about Portugal and retiring. Word Up Psychotherapy. I have committed a savings goal of 20,000 cash starting in the month of January with a goal to move to Portugal. Yay! And I love that she put a date. Yes, yes, yes. Love that. Love that. Yeah, Jess said cost of language lessons, of course, right? Blow it out. Anything that you can think of, because that will help sharpen your plan. Because sometimes we just think of these main categories and then we miss the detail, right? KF said, just discovered that Chicago is 63% more than living in Portugal. What a shock, right? Because you know why I think that tool in particular is so useful is because so many times we have discussions, right? And I know at least you will agree, is we have discussions with people and there's this fear of the unknown, the fear of what's on the other side. And and I had it too up until I moved here, right? Do I have enough, right? And that's because in America, you constantly are on the hamster wheel. And whenever you get to a certain benchmark, right, the yardstick moves. So you're always chasing. You might be chasing salary, you might be chasing title, right? Net worth, whatever it is. But it's because the yardstick keeps moving. And so, and the ground in the US is kind of shaky, right? Particularly for us. So that's why I say when you have these tools that you can use to help inform, right, objective, then you can say, okay, well, if it's 63% more affordable or um, 95, where I live is 95% more expensive. Okay, well, how much do I actually need? And that's when you go down through the categories, right? And you fill it in that information. And you might look at that comparison and say, hey, in these categories, I'm spending this in my home country in this city. But if I live in, we can use Lisbon as an example, but Lisbon is expensive. Let's be real about that. You might look at another city, right? You might look at Seychelles, one of the neighboring cities. You might go on the coast, right? Numbers will be different. As you look at that, you might say, "Oh wow, I only need 3,000 or 1,500." Right? I was watching Adelia's earlier video when she was talking about her comparison with Mexico, right? What she spent in 2022 versus 2023, and I think at one point in 2022, her costs were under 1,500 a month. And so that's why you can look and say, oh, wow, I thought I needed X amount of dollars, but in actuality, I need this. Now, again, going back to those phases, the reason why I put those in phases and you have your startup costs when you first move, that first 1 to 3 months, you're going to be spending, and I'm saying that kind of conservatively, you're going to be spending at a higher clip than you will in the months that follow, right? When I first got here, I had to buy all the things, right? All the things you see in this room, all the things that you don't see around here. Now that those bigger purchases are out of the way, things are lining up closer to the budget that I had for myself, right? So my sustain. So that's what I want you to be realistic and say, okay, this is what I really need for this move. And then you want to have your cost of living for your sustain. And when you do that and you look at your sustain budget, you're like, oh, wow. Oftentimes, you're like, oh, wow, I have enough that I can do this right now, right? There's another tool. Let me see if I can pull it up without my internet going wonky. Let's see. Should have pulled it up earlier. Let's see. Okay. Yes, here it is. Let's see. Okay. I'm going to share this screen. So this is another great tool that you can use. I love this one. I mean, I love them both, right? But National Living has a retirement calculator. I'm going to pop that in the chat as well. And so you can pop it, you see the information, and then it'll say, let's get started. Oh, see, it has my, so you put your age, you put your expected household income, right? And then you can put how much do you expect to have in savings when you retire, and then it's calculating. And then here's, okay, this came in jarbled. Let's see if it straightens out. It's not rendering. It's looking kind of funky. I think it's because of my internet. I have too many things open. But if you do this on your end, what happens is you're going to get a report with all of the countries. It doesn't come up all pretty. I think it's because I have way too many things open. It'll come in and it'll show you. Let's see if I refresh. If it comes in pretty. No, it starts at the beginning. You can do this on your own. But when you do that, it will show you all of the countries that you can move to within your budget and within what you said that you'd have available. And it tells you when. It tells you when. Let me see if I can get it work one more time on my side. Let me see without putting the stuff up. Let's see if let's see. If it comes in pretty, I'll show it. If it doesn't, we'll move on. But I did drop the link, so you can do this on your own. Yeah, it came in the way, same way. Okay. It's not playing nice in the sandbox, but it is a great tool. It is a great tool. And then there's another one that I love to use. This one is a great one too. I'll share. This one's actually by the government. So let's see. Okay. This one, I'll drop the link as well, is a compound interest calculator. So this one, I dropped the link. You can do this at your leisure, but you would go in and you will put in what your initial investment is, your monthly contribution. You can also put a minus too. I'll get to what that means in a minute. And then the length of time, right? So let me stop sharing for a second, because let's say, I'm going to put some numbers in. Or, okay. Okay, so let me share again. Yep, that one is, don't think I have that one still open, but it's Expatistan. Let's see, Expatistan. Oops. Stan.com. There you go, my dear. So if you go to, let me show you here, this is a compound interest calculator. Say you had, you just populate it with the information, right? This will help you figure out, right, your spend down. But let's say you had 90,000, you were contributing monthly, 30 years, whatever your time horizon is, and then calculate. In 30 years, you would have 2.2 million. Because some people think you have to like work forever. But look, if you change this, right? If you add more money, right? If you did, let's do it if you did none. You didn't do anything else. And you had 90,000 and didn't do anything else and left it, right? It would turn into 905, almost a million. Now, conversely, you could do, let's say you had, let's say you had 750,000. And instead of adding a plus, and this is where the magic is, you do a minus. So let's say you're taking out 3,000. So you started, let me just say this again. So you started with a $750,000 investment. Say, this is my all in, right? Sold your house, whatever, right? Now I want to be abroad and I think I'm going to be spending 3,000 a month, right? Can this last me 30 years? Let's see what it says. In 30 years, even with withdrawing 3,000 a month, you would have almost $3.5 million. Right? Powerful. So when you hear us say, like, you don't have to working as long as you do, that you can put your money to work for you, let them be soldiers, let them make money babies, whatever, right? However you want to language it, right? This is how you free yourself and you make the impossible possible, right? Because we live in the art of the possible. Okay, awesome, awesome. Just looking to see. Yes, yes. It's a great site. I love that. I play with it all the time. And let me tell you, it is right on the money. Okay. Oh, okay. Thank you for that. I thought it was me. I was like, oh no. Because usually it comes up so pretty and they have these pictures. Maybe they're doing some site work because it's the end of the year. I don't know. Oh, I see some of you guys are using Expatistan. Great. That's awesome. I'm glad this is helpful. Oops. Let me get back to my list. All right. So we talked about savings goal. So Then you want to set your savings goal, right? We talked about the 3 buckets, 3 areas, and then your sustain. So you want to figure out, do you want to have enough money for 6 months, a year? That might depend on the other sources of income. And we talked about diversifying, right? Leveraging those skills. And if you need to look back at that earlier video from a few weeks ago, that is a great way that you can think about, how do you reframe and start looking at your life in a different way so that your job is not your single stock investment, right? The high risky one, that you diversify, and it's more like you're more like an index fund, right? You've got different opportunities to pull in different sources of income by leveraging skills that you've acquired, right? You could be a virtual assistant. You can, like I said, make spreadsheets. You can do a whole lot of things. Some people are really great at transcription. There's so much that you can do. Um, and then you want to open up a dedicated account for that. I'm a fan of the buckets that Ally has. So you can use that, or you can use whatever works best for you. I follow For Better or For Worth, and they have a tool that they recommend, but I haven't used it yet. I think it's called Equalizer. I think it is. I'm not 100% sure. But they're a great couple to follow. Black couple. They have 2 children, and they just hit a milestone of 1.3 million. They're on their fire journey. They have great content. So you can check them out on Instagram. And let's see. It says establishing an emergency fund, talked about cutting out expenses, increasing your income. Automate. This is the thing that can help you. So, one of the things that you want to do to avoid getting into oh, you see the money there, and now something that you didn't plan for came up, birthday party, some trip, whatever, right? You have to prioritize investing in future you above all else. For some people, that's a hard thing here because, again, we have to think about our conditioning. Now we're in the phase of deconditioning. You might have grown up and heard, oh, doing that, thinking about yourself is selfish. Mm-mm-mm. And if it is, okay, I'm in my selfish season. Who gonna check me, boo? It's okay. It's okay. Right? So if you automate, the money comes out. You don't get to intercede, and say, oh, you know what? But I want to do this. I want to do that. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. You know what? Here's the thing. Uncle Sam, remember I talk about Uncle Sam, who's not the good uncle? Uncle Sam does not wait for you to send him a check. Uncle Sam takes his money off the top. You need to be like Uncle Sam. Take your money off the top. Automate. Automate so that you don't even have to think about it. It's gone. And so you have to deal with the remainder. I remember when I first got divorced and I had a budget that I had set for myself. Up until maybe the last 2 to 3 years of my living in New Jersey, because my rent went up crazy. But I had stayed at that same expense level, irrespective of the fact that my income kept growing, right? Because what that allowed me to do was to put my money to work, because I had to play catch up. I started from zero. I had to play catch up. I had an aggressive timeline. So I would take the money, right? And it would go off the top. Then they said, oh, I have this HSA. Oh, I have this, right? Just throw in brokerage account, like whatever. You have to automate, because if you stop and think, that is usually where those old habits, those old tapes, those old behaviors that we talked about earlier can intercede, can trip you up. And in 2024, all gas, no brakes. It's go time. Yes. Automate it. Yes. Automate those bills, automate those investments, right? Caveat for those of you who are already abroad, make sure you know your time zone, right? Because your bills might be paid in a different time zone. And so just make sure you sync up. You might want to pay a day in advance, right? Just to make sure that nothing's going out at the wrong time, right? Nobody wants to get stuck with fees. Uh, oh, okay. Greta asks, if you have an Ally account, how long does it take to transfer money into your Portugal bank account? It can take a while, actually. So there are usually, it depends. Actually, Ally doesn't do international transfers. So you would want to have like an account at Fidelity or Charles Schwab, for example, but you need to look at a bank that allows for international wires. You can use other services like Wise, which I have an account. Wise is really fast, but you also want to think about like the speed of those transfers. Usually, wires can take 3 to 7 days, depending. But there are other services out there, but you want to pay attention to the fees that they charge, and then you want to understand the rate, right? Because they have to make money. They're not going to say, oh, the exchange rate is, whatever it is. And, you're going to get this dollar for dollar or whatever, or it's going to be on the nose. They're usually going to have the midpoint rate because there's a spread. Obviously, they need to get paid. So you just want to be mindful of what those are with whatever you choose, but know that it is not instantaneous. I don't click a button and the money comes out of my US account into my Portugal account. It could be anywhere from 3, 5, 7 days, depending. Sometimes faster, but it's better to think that it'll take longer. This way you can plan ahead. Oh, thank you. And you know what? I needed that reminder too, because I never tell y'all, like, hey, hit the like button, subscribe. I had a goal of hitting 5,000 subscribers before the end of the year, which is only like whatever, 3 days away, 4 days away. I'm at 4,300. So I'm not going to hit goal, but that's okay. I tried. And I'm so grateful you all are here. So, yes, yes, yes. Yes, know your time zones because there's a couple times because especially when you're living life, right? Forget what day of the week is, and then you're like, "Oh crap!" Right? But you know who doesn't forget? The people that you owe. And oftentimes, fees can accumulate, or you might overdraw your account by mistake. Like that's it's real stuff out here. But like Word of Psychotherapy says, you can do it. Yes, 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 yes. All right. Let's see what else. Talked about selling. So this is something that I wish I had done a little bit earlier, but you can sell. I mean, I was selling like books and things, but I think some of the bigger stuff I could have probably gotten rid of and sold, but I gave most of my stuff away. But sell all those unwanted items. Put them on eBay, put them on wherever, right? Have a yard sale. You can, sometimes they have those community sales that you can do. Look at opportunities in which you can sell items, just clear things out, donate them. You can do things for Habitat, Dress for Success. Those are ways in which you can give to people that need it, right? I did I did like a little garage sale, but the things that I gave away, I gave to people that actually needed it, not that just they wanted it. And for me, it was like I would rather give my possessions to someone who needed. So a domestic violence shelter, um, look at, helping the people who are unhoused. Maybe it's like children's books, coats, things like that. Veterans, so those are ways in which you can kind of like offload, but also give it to someone where you know it's going to be more impactful than just somebody who has, but just wants to accumulate more stuff. Key 22 Life said, I have a storage unit with an entire 3-bedroom house. Wow. Yeah, sell that stuff. Sell it. And interestingly enough, and I don't know if this applies to you, but I remember when I moved from not my last apartment, but the one before then, I rented a house for 7 years after my divorce. And when we were married, I kept the furniture. So we had this big furniture. I had the hardest time even giving that away to, yeah, it was the Habitat. Because even the other places, even my mom realized it. I think with, I forget what she has near her. It's different in Florida. But any event, some of these places don't even want the big furniture anymore because people are, styles change, right? So people want more modern furniture, less big, bulky, heavy stuff. But the heavy stuff is the quality stuff, right? The stuff that was actually made of wood. But we live in the land and time of IKEA and particle board and MDF, and so that you know heavier quality, good quality, right? Stuff was for a different generation, but there isn't enough demand from the current generations. So these bigger organizations are actually declining, like those big, Chester drawers. And I know we had china cabinet, break front, some people had those in their homes, these long stately tables, dresser, Chester, used to have 5, 6 piece bedroom sets. Mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. They don't want them. They don't want them. So yet another reason why you just want to get rid of it. You want to sell it. You want to try and get rid of as much as you can while you have the lead time. Jess, you're funny. Yes, yes, yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah, Jess, what are you cooking? Yes, open up an account to pay your taxes. Yes, yes, pay your taxes. Let me tell you, like I said, Uncle Sam don't play. And when you're abroad, and this hopefully is not something new that you're hearing, the US is only one of 3 countries in the world that taxes you on your worldwide income. And the US is the only developed nation that taxes its citizens regardless of where they live in the world. So you still have to pay taxes when you're abroad. Newsflash. Oh, good. You found Wise. Yeah, I have a link. I think I have a link. Yeah, here's a link. I think this link, I can't remember. I think this link does something. Maybe it gives less fees. I don't know. I don't remember. I'll drop the link. There's a link for Wise. All right, let's see. Am I forgetting anything? I don't think I'm forgetting anything. Let's see. Let me look back at my list. Oh, okay. So what I want you to do also too, before I forget, is now that you've set all these things up, you want to look at it periodically. So think about your what cadence you want. Maybe you want to do it monthly, maybe you want to do it every quarter. It may depend on when you plan to move, but just like Word Up Psychotherapy did, set a specific date. It can help you work backwards and look at when are these points in time where I want to check in, right? Make sure that I'm tracking towards goal. Give every dollar a name and a job, right? Because we want to put those to work. Anytime any unexpected money comes in, maybe it's a tax refund, maybe it's some settlement from something, those class action settlements. Maybe it's anything, right? Uncle gives you money, whatever, right? Um, direct that money, have a plan in advance, because when you don't have a plan, life be life and it's going to, again, come in and gobble it up like Pac-Man. We don't want that. We want to put that money to work so that they make money babies. Yes, 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 yes. Oh, yes. I love it. Okay. You got it? Okay. Uh-huh. I'm laughing because look, Bailey be doing that too. She'd be like, "My mama done left me." Cool. All right. Are there any last questions before I let you go? Because I realize we just hit the 2 hour mark. Okay. Just is making pasta and chicken meatballs. Yeah. All right. I take it that there's no more questions. All right. You guys are good. Okay. We did it. We did it. So this is the 28th. We're coming into the new year in a few days. I hope that this was helpful as you start to plan your move in 2024. I will be back next week, probably the regular time, 5:30. Um, and I think next week we'll probably talk about countries, I'm thinking, because I think that's helpful for some of you that might need a little bit of more direction. So we'll talk about that. I will be celebrating New Year's by going to a masquerade ball. Yay. But between now and Sunday, I'm going out every night this week. So I hope that you have a very happy, very safe New Year, that you have a spirit of abundance that follows you and helps you get flight. Okay? So I will see you next Thursday. In the meantime, be well. Happy New Year.